Thank you. Here we go. Freeze frame.
Good cheers.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killin', 3 cold villains on the mic, got you reelin'. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the 1s and 2s by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over 2, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another fashionably late episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 331, recorded on Monday, August 9th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by Jackie B. The movie is In Fabric. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from my immediate right, we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy.
Howdy do. I don't have bumps on me today. I apologize. I did like the intro though today. It worked on multiple levels. Fashionably late, fashionable, late. Both things that are either related to this movie or our performance as podcasters.
Accurate on multiple levels. We're going deep tonight.
It's also fun to see that you actually write "What's up, nerds" in the show notes, in case you forget that.
In case I forget it, I
It's
never, I'm like Ron fucking Burgundy. I read exactly what's on the show.
I'm gonna make use of that.
Appreciate you. Last but not least, calling in from somewhere in the digital world, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy, Designer Soju. Straight off the rack, boys. Racks on racks on racks.
Straight off the rack.
Designer Soju. That's like designer alcohol. It's gonna fuck you up real nice.
I thought you were trying to take my spot.
Real good.
Fucks you up real nice. Real nice. Anyway, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick before we get into the movie review. Gentlemen, here's another reminder that our September poll pick is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this September. The theme is Halloween Party. And the 3 movies to vote between are Casper, The Guest, and Night of the Demons.
Hey, Bob. How those numbers looking? Heading into spooky season. I'm so damn stoked.
I'm stoked too, man. Looking, those fucking spirit stores are going to open any second, and I'm going to fucking lose my shit.
Yeah.
Those Radio Shacks are starting to look pretty spooky this
I
morning.
know.
Those radios.
Former Radio
Dude,
Shack.
what year are you living in?
I'm talking about all the closed stores they're filling up with goodies for Halloween time. Buddy.
Yeah.
Come on.
You got to
Circuit
get
Cities, the Radio Shacks.
you got to get your naughty nurse outfits or whatever.
Yeah,
You know?
in the same spot you
got
used to
to.
get The Sims.
Regarding the poll, anyways, Night of the Demons is still in first place. Casper is in second. The Guest
Whoa.
is in last.
People realized it was the good Casper and they said, hey, you got to represent.
The good
The
cast.
good one, where
Yes.
the lady says the bitch is back, so you got to vote for it.
Oh, it's got
The
a race
lady
fans.
and Bob. That's on a greatest hits clip somewhere.
Yeah, that's on the second one, I think.
If you want to
Episode
hear Bob say
200?
the bitch is
I
back.
thought you were talking about the second Casper movie. I thought fucking Hillary Duff was saying that shit.
Hillary Duffy.
The bitch is
Dude. Hannah Montana.
Totally.
Wait. What?
It's someone very different. Make sure you get your votes in before the end of August. We'll see what movie we're talking about this September. Spooky goddamn season.
I'm making a sneaky bet that Casper's gonna come from behind
It's
it and
so
take it.
sneaky. You're stating it.
Let
on-
me announce my sneaky bets for people to enjoy publicly.
Wow.
You've been playing too much stock market. You watched The Big Short recently?
I have not, but I'll take it under your recommendation.
I watched The Big Shorty, which I feel like that's very different.
The Big Short.
It's a-
Is that
Sounds
something?
like
It's a very different movie.
Is that the porn parody?
That's the porn parody.
All right. Small dicks for smaller chicks.
Everybody's so goddamn tiny. Shout that's really all we got regarding Patreon this week. Juice, do you have any YouTube or Twitch or anything like that going on?
son, my house is clean.
Holy shiitake mushrooms. Our houses are clean.
Thank you for editing that for Virgin News. That might be listening.
You're welcome. Now we're getting into the
Is this house clean? Tell me.
Wanted Randy to shut up.
That'll never happen. It's interesting being on this side where I can totally steamroll whoever's playing the fucking bumps.
Totally.
That was totally on purpose.
100%. It's time to get into the main event. We're talking about In Fabric, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Yes. In Fabric
Fixed
from
it.
totally from 2018. This is written and directed by Peter Strickland. Stars Marianne Jean-Baptiste, Julianne Barat, Sidse Babbitt Knudsen. That's probably how you say that. Runtime is about an hour 58 minutes, and the plot synopsis is as follows. In Fabric is a haunting ghost story set against the backdrop of a busy winter sales period in a department store and follows the life of a cursed dress as it passes from person to person with devastating consequences.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You own the box, but read the synopsis on Amazon Prime?
Randy, welcome to my world.
The confusion.
Welcome to my world.
Wow. You guys have it really rough, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
We get to see all of this just fucked up behind the scenes shit. Ugh.
It's so fucked
You can see
up.
it too on YouTube.
God damn. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before? Would you recommend people check it out? Randy, kick us off.
No, I had not. I actually was not aware of this movie really at all before Jackie B requested it, and recommend. So it is an A24 film, and it kind of fits into that like subgenre, I guess. Right? It's suitable for that production company. Certainly, It's got a little bit of a slow burn feel to it. It's character study centric. It seems to be, or at least partially. And it's very, very, very stylish. So yeah, if you've seen other A24 films, which I'm sure many, if not all of you have, it fits into that. To me, I like that sort of thing still. I'm not quite tired of anything like that. So I would recommend that if you're into that sort of thing, you would watch this. I don't think this is a movie that's going to be a big crowd pleaser, or that would be a big crowd pleaser for people. It's not, I think it's like a maybe 1 or 2 person watch. Not a big room, not a beer party.
Definitely not. It's a wine party.
So yeah, it's a pinkies out fucking wine party.
Juice, what about you?
Dude, were y'all late because you're making tiki drinks?
We were late because we were blasting ass.
Yeah, that might have been like a few minutes as to why we were late, but then also other technical issues.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. Just a little behind the scenes. I saw Randy sipping out of that ghost face tiki drink. Woo.
No,
Okay.
I came here with this, so
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I would not recommend this. I actually think Randy's recommendation of like a 1 or 2 person watching this at a time is appropriate. I can imagine the faces of everyone if you put this on in a crowd of like 6 or 7
just
people.
put it on at the bar.
Just
I-
twisted. What the
I
fuck?
feel
is
like
this?
they'd be real mad. I would
What
be.
the
This one was weird because I wasn't aware of this film either, and we got back-to-back A24 movies this week. And the thing is, a lot of the things I was praising last week and have praised about A24 films, I don't know if I would necessarily give to this one. It is stylish. And it's got some wonky like sound going on, but it doesn't fit the standard. It's like, what is it, A24 with like a BBC twist, which is weird.
And
It's
Lions.
just the accents that are getting you.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just it's it's an even more particular style than what you get from the typical A24, and it's not super accessible. And I know there's going to be a crowd for this, but this is not a general recommend for me. Bob, had you seen this one before? Would you recommend?
First time watch for me. I remember this movie came out and I just like immediately forgot that it existed, basically. Somehow, some way. So I'm glad Jackie brought it up for us to watch, because I actually really enjoyed this movie. Surprisingly, I like. I don't always love the like avant-garde type stuff. This the David Lynchy kind of stuff. That's the art housey bullshit, if you will, stuff. It's a bit challenging for me sometimes, but for whatever reason, this movie like really like resonated with me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got some questionable choices that I'm sure we'll get into, but overall, I enjoyed the ride quite a bit, and I really do recommend it if you're into art house shit. If you're not, you're gonna hate this movie. But,
damn, what reality are we in that me and Bob have completely flip-flopped? Completely.
What's
I
happening?
gotta find the X factor that is making Bob accept this.
And then
the
me
pretty
reject
dress.
it.
So it's that you just like the cut of the dress.
I really
Yeah.
like
Okay, I mean, you're really taking one.
the
Sure.
That's
dress.
wild.
It's the hypnosis work.
Say yes to the dress. Okay,
Bob, just say yes.
that's a medium recommend, I think, across the board from the three of us. So yeah, slam your eyeballs into it if you dare. We're gonna go ahead and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Oh yes. So I got
Dear God, I am super looking. Damn, that's a long bump. I was just gonna let it ride. I did
Dude, I
not
know.
realize.
I know.
It was so.
Still going.
You don't know the trials and tribulations.
Oh, God.
I am I think I'm more interested to hear Bob's plot synopsis than I am to really deep dive into this film. But Bob,
All right, well,
please,
let's hear
dear
it.
God, tell me you have a plot synopsis.
I got it typed up. Here we go. The plot is as follows. Sheila, a recently divorced bank teller living with her son, purchases a red dress from a department store sale for an upcoming date. Sheila develops a rash on her chest after wearing the dress. She tries to wash the dress, and her washing machine completely falls apart. A dog eventually attacks her while she's wearing the dress, and it's ripped to shreds. The next day, the dress is magically repaired. Sheila tries to return the dress at a certain point, and she finds out the model that was wearing it in the department store catalog died shortly after wearing the dress, and it's the only one of its kind. Sheila then gets in a car accident on the way to her suitor's house. She has a vision of a mannequin in the road, and she ends up dying in the car accident. And the second half of the movie sort of takes place around a completely different central character, a character by the name of Reg. So Reg comes into possession of this same red dress on his bachelor party, where his friends make him wear it at the club. His fiance, Babs, eventually takes a liking to the dress, and she wears it into the same department store that Sheila bought it from. Reg is back at home while she's shopping. He's watching the television and becomes mesmerized by the department store's commercial while the furnace catches fire and burns the house down, killing Reg. The creepy department store clerk, Miss Luckmore, recognizes the dress Babs is wearing and tries to make her leave the store. Babs refuses. She ends up trying on another dress in the change room. A fight breaks out in the store between two shoppers, and it escalates to a mob of angry shoppers fighting and looting. Babs gets stuck in the changing room. The red dress ends up catching fire, burning the whole store down. Babs dies in the fire, but we see Miss Luckmore escape in a dumbwaiter with a mannequin. As the dumbwaiter lowers, we see all the people whose lives were claimed by the dress sewing new red dresses. A fireman, then surveying the damage, finds the red dress amongst the rubble, totally undamaged. Roll credits.
I think I got to take issue with two things in there, which I understood differently about it. So first, I think that Reg died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Okay.
I think that was just, small detail. But and then
Yeah, that's
other
a good point.
The other thing is that Babs, when she goes in and wears the dress, it's also covered by a coat. And I actually don't think that the salesperson recognized it I think she was just trying to get her out because that was after a long conversation of her trying to get her to leave anyway. Because they were
because
closing.
she like came in right when they were closing.
Yeah, because I feel like if she had known that was the dress, and because they know something's up with this dress, she would have kept an eye on that thing instead of letting it burn the fucking place down.
I can't remember. I mean, she definitely had a coat on, but I can't remember if it was closed or not. But
It was closed. I mean, I looked for it specifically because I was wondering if that was the dress myself, but she never really opened it. I only found out it was the dress once she went and changed clothes in the dressing room.
Okay, gotcha. Well, anyway, she stayed.
Yeah,
The
small
shit burnt
details,
down.
but
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
plays into some top talking points later.
Well, there you
Hmm.
go. That's the shit that happens in this weird ass movie.
Yeah. So this was a strange one. I don't know about you guys, but not just based on the trailer, but based on how long that first segment with Sheila is. I thought this was a movie about Sheila.
Same.
Yeah,
And I
I
was
thought it
very
was a
thrown.
character study, and
I
that's
thought
why.
it was an aside with Reg, not a full blown jump.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of my biggest beefs with this film is because even when we were
Big beef.
focused on, big beef.
Oof.
Because even when we were in like the Sheila segment, so the first hour, I was thinking to myself, this movie is of two minds, and it has very split tones for me. And then once we switched from Sheila, because to me the most engaging part was I was thinking this was kind of like a character study of Sheila, almost like a Saint Maud type of deal, where it's like, is there really something wrong with this dress, or is this woman just kind of manifesting these negative things in her life? And then when we switched to Reg, I was like, oh God, they're taking the worst route for me, to where I was engaged with Sheila in her life and was really feeling bad for her, and but
Totally,
was
yeah.
still kind of interested in what was going on and hoping she kind of pulled through. But when it just completely switched to this other
Mhm.
character and it became about the dress, I was like, God, why are we
Did-
going this route?
Did you? So I agree with you that I connected far more with Sheila than I did with Reg's
Definitely.
character.
I'm with you both.
So is that the issue? Like, you found Reg difficult to identify with, or was it the fact that it was just such a jarring jump to have the movie cut down the middle with like two different main characters?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I get the idea of you want to see the dress jump from person to person. I get that, except the problem is this movie's too long. One, and
Yeah.
it's 90 minutes.
no, it's
it's
not.
just under 2 hours.
It's almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I read the wrong thing then.
And I was already a bit frustrated because in the Sheila say, so it wasn't necessarily even about Reg, because honestly, like, it wasn't the shift from Sheila to Reg. It was just that I was already frustrated because the segments focusing on the store in the Sheila section I thought were the weakest. And I didn't mind if Reg had come first. I feel like I would be in the same kind of vein a little bit. It's that Reg was weaker, but I was more interested in these characters than I gave a shit anything about this store or this actual dress being haunted. And I thought that the dress being haunted and actually floating around and shit was the worst part. I wanted it to be like a psychological stay where, Sheila is going through this traumatic thing in her life and she's having a hard time relating with her son and she's doing all these things. And so these things manifest as if the dress is causing it, but really it's manifesting in her life. And
really
I just
weird.
didn't
I'm sorry.
like I didn't like that the dress was causing the carbon monoxide to go off and causing her to crash a car. That tone felt very inconsistent to me.
See, it's so weird because a lot of the things you said I agree with, but through an entirely different avenue, because I did not even once think to myself, even though, yeah, you're right, like this is a pretty common thing to see in movies, really, and movies trying to play that game where it's like, is this real, is this not? That's very common. So I wasn't really looking for that. I don't know why. I mean, normally I would at least consider it, but I didn't really consider it in this one. I was really focused on this thing, and I loved the store stuff. I loved the hypnotic commercials first and foremost. Like, that was like, to me, felt like maybe even the impetus for making the movie, because I felt like this movie was entirely about consumerism and the idea of salesmen, hijacking your brain in order to get you to purchase something. And I was thinking of that pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you there, man. I found Miss Luckmore, which is like the store clerk, and like all the other store employees.
Hey, y'all there? Oh, fuck. I lost Randy. I lost Randy. Can you hear me? So Randy is no longer in the meeting. I can't hear y'all. Rob's muted. Fuck. I can't hear you. Unmute yourself. You're muted in the Zoom call. There you go.
Can you hear
I can
that?
hear you now.
hear that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're not using my computer now.
Well, somehow or another, my phone just muted itself. That was the problem.
Well, what the fuck?
I have no idea how that happened.
Oh, okay.
Well,
that's okay. Randy said, "Yo, that's
Yeah,
weird." Okay.
yeah.
I'm going through the mixer as well. so-
Yeah, like no one's touching my phone. I don't know. how that
Okay.
is.
And my computer's just for notes.
Bob, for me, you cut out like literally as you said. I agree. That's the last thing I heard
great.
from you.
Okay.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
All right.
How long? I mean, we were only gone for like 2 minutes.
I don't know, man.
Okay. So yeah. I feel like the whole like store, the department store, and like Miss Luckmore and all the employees in the store are basically like portrayed as vampires almost. They're like, instead of like feeding on people's blood, they're like, charming them into coming in and like buying all their wares mindlessly, enchanting them, so to speak, like a vampire would do.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, except like my thoughts went directly to A Coven of Witches because it's fitting of that traditional form of
Yeah.
like witches with like a devil-like manager, aka Lucifer, who is, by the way, one of the scariest looking human beings I've ever seen. I was really into them and like what they were doing because like they did things like Miss Luckmore, the way she spoke was like this insane, anachronistic,
That was pretty
Shakespearean
nuts.
language to you
Yeah.
in order to convey really common things like, oh, it's not refundable, or oh, welcome to the store, I'm going to make you look beautiful. Like things that a salesman would say, but it was like gussied up in a more anachronistic way.
Like
I did like that. I tried to do it for my intro, but couldn't.
Yeah, dude, it is a tough thing to nail. It was
Yeah.
something to like even understand what she was saying.
She says things like, the hesitation in your voice, soon to be an echo in the recess of the spheres of a retail.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody speaks like
what
that.
is it? Our
Okay.
beloved store, or what is it they say all the time?
Yeah,
Our
something
trusted
like that.
department store, or
Trusted,
something like
yeah.
that.
So let me touch on that and clarify some things with you guys that I just really struggle with this movie. So I found that interesting, but overall for myself, I found it too theatrical in a way that it felt kind of try hard, but at times, or especially early on, I was intrigued by it. But it felt like it created a very inconsistent and not a very good like world building type situation for me. So so like Bob was saying, towards the end, it felt like they were almost afraid of the dress toward the end, and it almost felt like a circumstantial thing where they were like, oh yeah, unfortunately this woman died in this dress, and so it was particular to this dress. It wasn't like all of the clothing they were selling, whereas early on it made them seem like they were a coven of witches, like they were performing some sort of magic in order to, like they were working through the dress. But then in the second half of the film, it's like whatever the dress touches, it corrupts completely and starts killing people on its own, to the point where it destroys its own store that sold it. So I was like, okay, wait a second. Are they witches that are working negatively through this dress? And if so, one, I had a problem with that because it didn't make sense because they're killing their consumers. And then second, like, or on the other hand, did they have nothing, or did like the dress cut loose and just like do whatever? I don't like it didn't feel like a very consistent or solid like world building aspect from the store point of view. And I think that's one of the big problems I had with it, on top of it being very like a little too theatrical for me.
So I like the theatrics first and foremost. Like, to me, the chintz was intentional. Like, I think it was intentionally, like, this was clearly intentionally channeling Giallo based on my new understanding of what Giallo is. We had
Giallo.
There's always room for Giallo. Yes, as we know. So I think this movie was playing into that thing, which is more style than substance a lot of the time. So I was on board for that sort of thing. And as far as like the world building, what you're describing, I don't think you're wrong, but I do think that this movie, I think this movie is prioritizing the metaphor over the internal logic of it, which is something that Giallo does, as I understand it. It's more about you know what I mean? So like the idea of it being something that they have to get out of the store, they cannot take it back, and like they're trying to keep you as a customer. So Satan himself shows up and says, "I'm sorry about my employee. Here's a discount voucher." Like that sort of shit. That is consumerism. That is like how stores actually operate. The only thing they're doing is applying a sheen of Giallo level witches on top of that. And to me, like a dress would not necessarily then, they just don't want the dress back because that's the bottom line. I think is like the metaphor is a store doesn't want to take it back because it's surviving based on that thing being out of the store. It can't come back. And whether or not it comes back to hurt them, I think was an accident, which is why I made that point earlier.
Yeah.
I think that she even like denigrates the dress and says, this is we have a dress code here. You basically says you have a dress code. We have a dress code here. You can't wear that. You have to come back in a better dress. So you have to leave now just to get her out of the store. But that's the same dress that she like called mysterious and put all these like mystique on. It was salesman talk that was doing that because she wanted it out the door. And now that she does not want that, she's operating towards the bottom line again by getting this dress or getting this person out. She doesn't know, like the fact that it's evil, I think is like, again, just sort of like playing to the idea of consumerism. Like, is a dress actually going to improve your life? Is it going to improve your relationships? It might, maybe not, you know what I mean? And then from there, it also just continues to build on just the spookiness aspect and creates a horror from that. I don't think that it makes internal logic sense. Like, I don't think logical sense is the point. I think the metaphor is prioritized heavily.
Definitely.
Oof.
Big Suspiria vibes on this.
See, I wish they would have picked one lane. Like, I'm okay. I feel like I would have been a lot more okay with this movie if they had picked that route, because or like picked one lane. Like, I'm okay with the consumerism metaphor and focusing on that, but when you have so many segments that are literally centered on a flying dress, but also that intertwine, and I think maybe that's a poor editing choice or how it's directed, intertwined with these witches doing what seems like, some kind of witchcraft or whatever on it becomes very confusing about the overall just general plot. Like, I get the metaphor early on, like even like from the initial buying of the dress, that metaphor is hammered home well. Like, that's fine. And I think that's handled with taste. The problem is when you have a 2-hour movie and the whole idea is like, there's this dress that's killing people. Oh, but also there's this huge metaphor where you have to go to this other place and this whole other group of people to kind of keep hammering that home after 2 hours. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, are we focusing on the dress? Are we focusing on this store and this metaphor? Like, what's the point?
It's the journey, man. That's what it's all about.
But it's not a good journey.
It's like, I think the second half of the movie, like when it first happened, I was like, oh, there's going to be sort of like an interesting sting on the end of this movie. I thought
for sure they were turning people into mannequins, by the way.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That would have been cool, yeah.
But we ended up like spending half the movie with Reg, and at first I sort of like recoiled and wasn't really about it. But with Reg's story, there's like such a thick layer of comedy that like made the medicine go down easy. I think like we're introduced to him at a bachelor party wearing a dress, and he gets hammered and ends up puking in the parking lot, and then like he's a washing machine repairman that's referenced earlier in the movie. We never think we're going to meet this guy, but we spend half the movie with him. And like every time he starts talking about his job and like repairing washing machines, he like gets real monotone and speaks very slowly and methodically about it. Like he clearly knows a lot about what he's saying, but whoever he's talking to just like glazes over, almost like they're in like they're being hypnotized.
I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah.
When he's talking to the bankers specifically, it's like they're about to jizz their shorts.
Dude, they are all like
They
orgasmic.
love
And
it.
what's interesting about that to me is that to me is just another version of what Lovejoy is, or Love. What is her name? Joy, the saleswoman.
Oh, Kilmore. Is that her name? Yeah.
Luckmore. Yes. Kilmore. No,
No.
I think like Reg's like orgasmic technical speak is another way. To me, that's again commenting in another way on the idea of bamboozling people. You know what I mean? Like if you layer on these layers of technical jargon, people think they're being informed, and they sit there and they nod and say, yes, I understand. They don't fucking understand. They don't know what a widget gasket is or whatever the fuck he said. I don't think that those things are real that he even said.
When you a lot of it was.
No. Oh, really? Was it? There was some things that.
There was
Well,
one
I
thing
thought
he said,
it
like
might-
whittle or what,
I thought it might be British lingo too, so I was on the fence.
Maybe.
I was like, they say some wild shit.
But I think that's like that's a
They
callback
say
to that. My problem with Reg is not the Reg story. My problem is that I was too invested in Sheila. They spent so long with Sheila that I thought the movie was about her. If they had gone to Reg maybe 20 minutes earlier and then gone to another person that wasn't his wife, that was also kind of completely separate, and then made it sort of almost anthology-esque, then I could have really wrapped my head around that.
Yeah.
So to me, the split was difficult because I just wanted to see more Sheila. I wanted Sheila to have some resolution. And instead, Sheila was capped right at sort of like the point of transition, for a point where she might have, started reaching a climax
Yeah,
of
she's
a regular
either
movie.
going to at the point they
That
cut
was
off
the
Sheila,
frustration for me.
it was sink or swim. I completely agree. And to that end, in the Sheila storyline, I was still okay with the metaphor and the like the whole store situation, because to me, as I'm viewing this in my mind, I agree with Randy. I'm invested in Sheila, and the store part is like, okay, I get the metaphor, and they are just kind of a means to an end. They are a way for me to kind of in a spooky way understand maybe what's happening to Sheila. But what I really care about is Sheila. So when they shift that gear and they're like, no, you're really supposed to care about the store and this metaphor, I'm like, well, to me, that was just a means to an end. That was not the story for me that I cared about,
which is another marketing.
I did not like that, and it wasn't even necessarily a problem with Reg. I didn't like that shift in what I was supposed to be focused on and care about.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that. To me, it's like that. I could have been right there with you. If I didn't like Reg's story, I would be exactly where you are, I think, with the exception of the one interpretation that we differed on. But like for me, it was the fact that I was so invested in Sheila. Like that whole thing, I totally agree. Because Sheila is a lonesome character. You are made to feel for her the entire way through. She's being terrorized by Brienne of Tarth, who is stone cold fucking.
No shit! I didn't even realize that was her.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and like.
Wait, who is it? Clarify.
Clarify. Brienne of Tarth from Game of
Her
Thrones.
son's girlfriend is.
Oh
yeah.
my God, you're right.
That's
I thought you
awesome.
said Darth something. I was like,
No,
this is something
no,
from
no.
Star Wars. What the fuck?
I wouldn't know.
Fucking nerds.
Dude, Brienne of
it's
Tarth.
not
Holy
nerd.
shit.
It's Game of Thrones, not nerd.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That real shit.
Anyway, but yeah, so like she's got a dramatic story, and Reg kind of does too. To me, like, yeah, there's definitely some comedy there that you can pull from, but the comedy comes from him being a very put upon and very belittled man, and I felt for him too. The problem to me is that having a 2-character lineup and then a conclusion, and it's really kind of 3 because it does go to Babs, but Babs is intertwined with his story at the same way that Sheila's son is intertwined with his, and he doesn't get the dress. The dress doesn't have much to do with him except for inconsequential or aside shit.
It tries to kill his girlfriend when they're leaving.
Yeah, that's like the most interaction he gets with it, though. It's not something he wears. It's not something that he goes through. He's not listed in the list of characters that is Lovejoy, Lovelace, whatever. Joy. Fuck it, I can't. Luckmore. Yeah, and like she's not included. So like to me, it's a completely understandable divide. But to me, I was invested in Reg by the end as well a little bit, and even Babs to some extent. The problem was that the consistency wasn't there for me. Like, so if it's weak because of that. It's not so much weak because either one of those tales is bad, and it's certainly to me not weak because of the witches coven or whatever's going on there. I thought that was really cool. I thought they could have done a little bit more with it, but because I got the impression they were going for stylistic giallo that's about the feeling and not so much about plot.
Yeah.
I kind of accepted it, I guess. I think that it's really easy to be where you are, so Justin. I don't blame you for it at all.
Totally agree. Yeah,
but at the same time, I did enjoy it, and I feel
Thanks
like
for understanding, guys.
No,
we understand you.
No one else
so
does.
Like it would be so easy to feel that.
So
way.
complex.
You're just not complex enough, and that's fine.
You guys
get
get how dark and mysterious my thoughts are.
Anyway, but no, the idea.
You listen to him.
Dude,
Oh, man.
for show.
Yeah, I don't know. That the whole thing. I just wish it stuck with Sheila, and it could have been a really fucking cool movie if it had just stuck. Even if what happens to Babs happened to Sheila, she comes back in, she's tricked into trying another dress, and then she takes that dress off or whatever. If the dress is with her somehow because she's trying to return it, and then it burns down the building with her inside, and the dress survives and all that. Even then, I feel like it's a more cohesive movie. But they included Reg, and that to me derailed things to a point where it's really easy to feel like you were cheated out of that story.
Yeah, and here's even how, if they wanted to go that route, I don't even know. Like, I think it makes it slightly better. I still think, again, I would have preferred like the character study of, focusing on Sheila. But if you're gonna kill Sheila and you're gonna switch it and you want to show, how the dress continues on and how it affects other people, well, then make it like at least somebody that we know and like loosely tie in the Sheila story. So for instance, if she died and Brienne of Tarth was the one who inherited it or something, and we see, and so you're like a side, she's like, from the side where she maybe still sees the boyfriend, or we see how it, or I mean, her son, how it affected him. And so we then at least get a glimpse into like what, like feeling like that story maybe got wrapped up in some way. I don't know. I hated when they ripped Sheila's story.
It felt very undone.
That's what I cared
Sheila.
about.
I agree with that part. And the thing is, like, I did not like when they shifted and did not visit back. And I think having Brienne of Tarth, that would be cool too. If they had gone from Sheila to Brienne to Reg by some, like, maybe he finds it while trying to fix her fucked up washing machine.
I mean, he could have come over.
It could have been that. But the reason that I think I'm more forgiving of it is not is like because the experiential part was prioritized and the metaphor was prioritized. And I think that there's something to the fact that this is bamboozling so many people, and they do kind of hint at that many times. Not hint, they outright show you that they're showing these commercials of the women like drawing you in quite literally and showing all these like really fucked up like creepypasta-esque like sale commercials that somebody would put on the internet and tell you it's real and you freak out late at night. And they looked really cool, and people are coming to the store in droves and fighting each other to get in. And by the end, the women fighting is also, I think, part of that. Like you said earlier that like, the dress is the only evil dress. I think the whole place is like Needful Things shit. Like, I think it's all evil shit that they're trying to get out the door. It's just, this is the dress that we are focused on. And I think that like, or it's like the most evil that we're focused on. But these things are clearly affecting people in a way that they are willing to fight, claw, and kill each other in order to get fucking socks. And I think that plays very well, very, very well with the metaphor of anti-consumerism. but it doesn't necessarily play well with the idea of logic because they don't expound on the logic.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem because I find those things intriguing as well. So separate from my problem with like I really cared about Sheila, the parts about, so I said I found them less interesting, but it's because to me they were set up as a tool in the beginning. But there are elements that I liked. Like it seemed as the movie kept going on, people got more intense about it. And even the ending, I actually liked the ending where it showed all the people making kind of this dress again. But I felt so torn because I was like, if this movie's supposed to be about this store, then we should have seen more store and less like Reg or whatever. And if this movie should have been about these people, then it should have been about Sheila. And so I feel like no matter what, I'm disappointed because this movie feels so inconsistent in its tone. What the fuck am I supposed to care about? And how is that supposed to be fleshed out? To me, this movie, no matter what lane you choose, it failed on both ends. It failed on the store end. And if that's what I'm supposed to care about, it failed on the Sheila end. If that's what I'm supposed to care about, it split it in two. It's too fucking long. And they didn't pick a lane, in my opinion. Whether you wanted to go giallo or not, or even giallo inspired, that wasn't even a lane that was picked. It's like they're splitting this down the middle.
That's not true. It says as much lore in it as Suspiria does.
Yeah, I think so. If not more, I think.
I don't think so because at least with Suspiria, you are at the place. Okay, so if we were at the store, then that would make more sense. But most of the, or at least half of the time, we are with Sheila or with Reg in their lives.
I don't know. I think that's showing the effect of what this thing has done to them. But Suspiria, it's at the place all the time, but that's because that's what that place is. I think that nobody stays at a store overnight. You know what I mean? Like if the story is about how these consumers are affected by what they're consuming, we have to go home with them and see what their home lives are like.
Yeah, but I guess even in that fact, okay, so if it's about the store, then why is the focus on this dress? Because even the way Reg comes across the dress has nothing to do with the store. It comes across through a secondhand store. So I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. Here's the problem.
I think that weakens the metaphor. I'll agree with that.
If it's about the store, then why is it also about this dress? Because if these people are witches and this is what they're doing, then why is it this single garment that ultimately destroys the store that is also a like singular focus at times? That's the problem with me.
Like that's not the point of the movie. I
do.
And like getting hung up on it doesn't like improve or like.
I'm not necessarily hung up on it. I just think it's weak.
To me, it doesn't. To me, it's not like
it's not a normal narrative. And like if that's what you want, you're not gonna like this movie, no matter what. You're just not gonna like it.
Yeah.
But it's not trying to tell a normal narrative. It's not trying to give you a normal ass story. It's not concerned with doing that. It's definitely got a metaphor and it's definitely trying to say something, but it's not trying to like answer every single question that you have.
It doesn't exactly like not choose a lane. It's blending lanes. To me, it's a blend. It's not like a failure to choose one avenue. I don't think they have to choose one avenue or the other in this one. I think that like having them, show you real world people in comparison to this otherworldly shop that is taking people's fucked up lives and fucking it up even more by hypnotizing them. I think that's enough on its own. The problem for me is really the pacing decision of having it split into 2 and not 3 segments or more. You know what I mean? Like having it split the way it did, it was very jarring to see it split. And it was not satisfying to me because I wanted to see how the confrontation between Brienne of Tarth and Sheila went. Maybe that's, me adhering to a normal narrative rather than just going with the flow of what this movie's trying to do. But I agree with you on that front. That did bother me to some extent. I overcame that by kind of feeling like the feeling was the most important thing. The metaphor and the feeling of this place is evil. And yeah, these things, it comes back and kills the shop or whatever. And to me, that's like, I think that actually happens not just because of their dress. I don't think the dress is entirely to blame for that, because the fight is happening simultaneously. It only happens because people are losing their shit at this fucking store. And so evil Dr. Lucifer, who runs the shop, isn't able to do anything about it.
They were so good at driving people fucking nuts that they couldn't contain it anymore. They were overrun. But I think that like they're fucking fine with it, honestly. I don't know, maybe like that dress was just like the most evil thing they ever created.
Maybe.
And that's why at the end, instead of just having the one like they said they had, we see them making like several more.
I don't think that's the part we're supposed to be rationalizing.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Get
I'm just
that.
saying that, like, from my perspective, the reason I'm able to enjoy it is because the part that I think we're supposed to rationalize is the metaphor, and we're supposed to rationalize it through the lens of Sheila at first, who is a real life person who's very put upon, who we feel for, and then later Reg, who I felt for, but also kind of felt was pretty pathetic, and you know what I mean, like needed to stick up for himself and all this stuff, but also who had an element. Both of these characters also had an element of salesman to them, because we saw him hypnotize people by being able to talk real fucking good, and we saw that Sheila was a really good. She was a fucking bank teller. She's doing a customer facing job, and she's given high marks for it, with the exception of really pedantic bullshit like them timing her fucking
and her
lunch breaks,
her
and shit.
waving to her boss's mistress.
I want to touch
That's
on
just
that.
wild.
Technically, that is hilarious as a concept to me.
I want to touch on that because in the Sheila, this is another thing where I think where they shift, I had a problem with, and it wasn't just that they ripped Sheila away. In the Sheila segment, the humor to me was very on point, to where it wasn't necessarily subtle.
It's Office Spacey.
Yeah, exactly. And it was in there, and you
were
were like, oh man, this is so wild. Once it switched to Reg, it feel like they took that level of humor and they like took it to 11, and it felt so uneven to me.
You know, Reg reminded me of that energy vampire character, Colin.
Yeah.
From What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
He's just fucking draining your ass, talking about how to fix a washing machine.
And the other thing is okay, so there's another element to this, which is classism, right? So you got Sheila, who walks in and she's, nicely dressed or whatever, but Babs comes in later and she's treated like shit. She has a Cockney accent. She is less refined. Her friends and her family or whatever are blue collar workers, and they try to kick her out. So there's that element too. I don't know exactly what that plays into exactly, but there's a lot of like little things like that are going on to make me think that they are fleshing out the metaphor far more, which is why I agree with you that having this dress be found at the secondhand store, almost be bought by some woman, but then be bought by some dude who just needs any dress, and then move on and continue to kill. I think that's probably the weakest part, because that does not serve the metaphor. Everything else in the movie seems to, except for that to me.
Yeah, it's just so confusing that it's like, because in the early scenes they focus so much, like we have this whole scene when she first buys the dress, and also too, I think it's a great scene where she's in there considering buying the dress. So to me, I just feel like they set it up so strong, and I feel frustrated because I'm like, they set that up strong, and then the scenes that follow is almost like this, they're enchanting it. We see this wild dude, and again in another A24, we see this dude jizzing again.
I don't know, a mannequin pussy bleed.
Always
in this fucking
dude. The mannequin three-way was nuts.
That was that is the primary reason. That and her like taking the mannequin with her in the elevator. That is why I was so convinced. There's got to be an element where that original model is now a fucking mannequin. Yeah, and this is like B-movie plotting going on.
But what I'm saying is that like they set that up so strong. Okay, they set that up so strong that when you shift to Reg, I feel like there's several weaknesses going on here that I want to touch. It's not just the switch to Reg as a main character when you're focused on someone that you're invested in, like Sheila. It's that also, again, yes, it comes from a secondhand store, and then it becomes a confusing lore to me. Is like, is this store, these women, this coven, whatever it is, are they actually bewitching this like these
To me,
dresses or
undeniably,
this
yes.
fabric, or has it got a mind of its own? And like, why should I care if it's got a mind
It's
of its
both.
own?
It's like to me, it's like if you must rationalize it, which if you're trying to
You're
rationalize
losing.
it,
It's a losing battle, man.
but even if you are trying to, I think maybe think about it as it's a Frankenstein's monster. They created a cursed dress, put it into the world, and they don't expect it to ever make its way back because they can turn away the person who bought it, and the next person who gets it isn't theoretically never going to walk into that shop wearing it.
So
That's
is there
a pure
other
happenstance.
are there other dresses out there though that they also
Maybe.
control?
I mean,
Probably.
maybe. Yeah, I mean, like,
I would think
Okay.
so.
I don't think it's unfair to think that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah. I gotta mention fucking Sheila, poor Sheila. So like she's a widow and she's trying to get back out
She's
there.
not a
That's
widow.
why
Her son sucks, by the way.
she's I'm sorry. Divorced.
divorcee.
Yeah. So she's trying to get back out there. That's why she buys this hot red number. You know, she's
Yeah.
going out on a date. And she goes out on a couple dates actually.
Dude,
and the first one-
Adonis. Let's talk about
the-
Adonis.
we got to
Oh,
talk
are we
about
jumping the Cooper
Adonis.
segment already?
Well, no, but she goes out on a date with fucking Adonis, and he is like the least interesting / least interested person I've ever seen in my life.
He's the most rude
And-
person in the world.
And both the dates she goes on, these dudes take her to the same spot, and they're both like, "Hey, I got a coupon. The only catch is you got to split a pudding at the end." Like these motherfuckers just gotta split puddings. I don't know. I felt bad for the woman, but fucking Adonis is a lame.
But then
fucking
she
date.
does get a second date with somebody who's decent.
Decent dude, yeah, but
At least
he still needs that fucking pudding.
Yeah, he
I-
still needs his fucking coupon. Because
And-
the thing is, that again goes to the consumerism thing. Like that's part of the appeal of going on a date is
You're-
saving money.
You're fucking right. I didn't even consider that.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, everything about even the waiter in this movie, like even though he's treated like shit by Adonis, and you kind of feel like, oh, this poor waiter.
Yeah.
Later, he's still he literally uses some of the same language. I think he
Mhm.
says something like "our venerable restaurant" or something like he's
Yeah.
using salesman language.
Anytime someone orders anything from him, he always responds with immediate.
Yes, yeah, and no, that's what it is. And they
The
say
lucky.
immediately. Both of them say
And he says
immediately
something about
whenever they're asked
lucky.
to do something.
Yeah.
Or
Like
yeah,
your
lucky might
lucky
have been-
meal or something.
Yeah, something like that. He again, like it's about salesmanship, and the thing is, we see what a salesman looks like when she goes home in Sheila and how depressed and horrible she is, but she's
Mm.
buying into consumerism herself,
Mhm.
and it's doing nothing for her. It is
But
actually
she
actively
has
harming
to
her.
because she's like pressured from her bosses to kind of do
Exactly.
the same thing.
Because the system protects itself.
Yeah. Now, see, this is a shame. We have been talking for an hour now about this film, and we have hardly like we're just now getting to Adonis and the dates. Man, I like the first hour of this movie. I was okay even with the theatrics of the story. It wasn't until they switched gears that I had a problem with it. I feel the story of Sheila was so rich, and I feel like even frustrated that we haven't spent even more time talking. We haven't talked about her relationship with her son, how
I
she
know.
struggles
Yeah.
through her job and things like that. Man, like in this first hour, I was like tolerating the theatrics, and like I was like it wasn't bothering me yet. And man, her story was so rich, and like they built it up so well that I felt it was almost like a travesty, like in just film history, that it became a gimmick. I think that's why I'm so frustrated. It's because her like
You think they traded in a rich story for a gimmick, is what
for
you're
a
saying.
metaphor, yeah, for a gimmick. I do, because man, I just her dates, and they set it up in this kind of time where you're going through the VHSs, this kind of timeless feel, and then also the situation with her son, it all just felt relatable. And the fact that I'm not a 50-year-old black woman, but the struggle,
you are.
the struggles that she was having with her son, and like how she was feeling like she needed to look good, and the frustration she was feeling with this dating scene and everything, like it just all felt so authentic that it's such a shame to me that it became a gimmick. I hate that.
See, and I I feel like that's where we agree to the point where I totally see what you're saying. And I mean, it's partially because the performances in that segment are so goddamn good.
Yeah,
But
and it's
whoever
just so
plays
well
Sheila is
written.
Fucking amazing. And yeah, it's well written, and she's just the most put upon person in the world by the most fucked up system in the world of she's in Office Space and she's in Suspiria at the same goddamn time.
Yeah.
And her son is banging Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
And like she's rubbing
That
it into
shit
her
was
face
crap.
that
Dude,
she's
when
having
she
sex, but the 50-year-old divorcee is not.
when
as if
she
that is
finds
somehow
that
a
painting
betterment. Yeah.
of the butthole.
Oh my
that-
God.
The painting?
And everybody's worshiping the
Dude,
butthole.
if I had
Dude.
made the graphics for this episode after seeing the movie, that might have been the fucking
Butthole worship.
Dude, I
That's the name of
lost
the
my
show.
shit. See, that's
I
where
laughed a lot.
that's where I was like, this movie has very clever humor. It wasn't like shoved down my. I was like, that shit is
Yeah.
hilarious.
That is hilarious. And he's jerking off to his own drawings, by the way. That kid sucks.
He does suck.
He
Dude, whenever
sucks.
Brienne is showering and the mom's like got a peeper bed, she thinks her son's in there. He's like,
Yeah.
knocking on the doors and hurry up, I really gotta go. And then Brienne walks out and she's like, oh, your boy? Yeah, he's in bed. As soon as he gets his nut, he falls asleep. Yeah. And it's like,
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
who would fucking say that to the
Somebody,
dude's
it's a
mom?
power
Like,
play, and that's like yet another reason she's put him on. And that is yet another reason that I agree with Justin that I want to see a resolution for that.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just on a pure storytelling level, I want to see that. But that said, because to me the metaphor is so strong, and I can see that they're prioritizing that and the style over that sort of thing for stylistic purposes and for for making a point. The purpose of making a point, I can overlook it. And if I had my way with this movie in the early days, I would say just focus on Sheila. You've got something special here. Or
Yeah.
just focus on Reg if you prefer that, but focus on somebody and make them your central character study on them. And it doesn't, to me, I don't think the metaphor that they're trying to say is served by saying that it's all in the person's head, because it's about malignant forces enacting upon you, be they witches or advertisers. So to me, the metaphor is strong enough to supersede that, to overcome that. And as much as I see that, as I agree with you, that is something that I would prefer to see done differently. I think that it still works. I think that it still works, and I enjoy myself trying to parse that.
I think it's also worth mentioning that this movie is set around Christmas time. It's like the Christmas holiday, so there's like all these special sales
Yeah.
going on and stuff too. So that,
Right
plays
after the
into
Christmas holiday.
yeah, that plays into like the consumerism side of it as well. Like people are trying to find a deal.
It's not a subtle metaphor, but it is an
No.
intricate metaphor, I would say.
Yeah.
I like how it's handled. Honestly, I really do.
That to me is if I was to tell somebody to watch this movie, it would be because it has a really interesting anti-consumerism message. It wouldn't be, and it has really great acting and a few other things, but it wouldn't be because it's got a really cool world where witches turn people into fucking consumers nightmares. That is the story being told, but that is not the real story being told.
I feel like that's such a strange choice too, because to me, this movie is so it was long. And the thing is, if I say like, I take the Sheila aspect, I'm like, okay, I like the Sheila aspect. It was an hour. And even to be honest, I like the Reg aspect, despite like
Be
the
honest.
Kind of
fact
on its own.
that I was,
right?
well, yeah, on its own, it works. But the problem is these two broken segments put together is way too fucking long. And if you wanted to tell the story of the metaphor, I feel like there's a better way to do it. In the fight, like cut this bish into thirds and cut each segment down to 30 minutes. Do not make me invested in a character for over an hour and then rip that shit away in order to
Was it
sell me
over
on
an hour?
another character for about 50 minutes.
It could have been. I mean,
Yeah,
It was
I don't
about-
know exactly. But yeah, I think it was roughly split in half almost. Like I didn't time
I don't-
anything.
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree with that. I think there was a better way even to do the metaphor. I just think that the metaphor itself was well enough portrayed to entertain me throughout. I will say that, like, the Reg thing, like, I really think that this movie feels long because we don't get resolution on that first segment.
Yeah.
I think that's really the issue.
That's just cold-blooded consumerism. You don't get resolution, baby.
Oh
Ooh, Rob's
God.
taking
Stop
us to the
trying to
fourth
make this
level here.
work.
The metaphor is landed.
Oh,
Stop
shit,
trying.
I bought this movie. I'm a monster.
No, I mean, I think there is something to say about, like, you know, the fact that Reg picks it up from like a secondhand store, or his buddy does anyways. Like, I don't know, it's just like consumerism does have layers, you know. It doesn't help us buy into the
like
fact,
Shrek.
like, that witches made these dresses or anything like that. Just like Shrek, this movie's like an onion. Consumerism
interesting?
is like onions.
I'm
That's
sitting
what
here
saying.
thinking about that thrift store scene, and there's a segment where a woman is considering buying it, and there is a saleswoman there at a thrift store, which I have never seen somebody try and sell a dress at a thrift store. But this movie is making a point to show that. So, but she is clearly less capable than Miss Luckmore.
Nailed it.
Hell yeah! So yeah, she's less capable than Miss Luckmore, so she's not speaking in as many riddles. She's not as sophisticated, and so the lady's like, I can't afford to go on a cruise. She even tries to like paint a picture of her on a cruise in order to look great on you, flapping in the wind. And she's like, yeah, but I can't afford a cruise.
Yeah.
And then somebody just happens to pick it
God,
up.
this world is
fact that-
so depressing, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah, the world is
The
making,
actual world?
yeah.
I meant just the world
The
that they're
answer is yes.
portraying.
We're getting real fucking.
Yeah, you
No,
want to go
I'm
real deep?
fine.
We can talk about it.
Nah.
I'm almost ready
Dude,
for
I'm
full screen face.
twisted.
No,
I'm
this whole screen face. No, we're
Rob, land the plane.
We need a land.
Yeah, we are landing that much on the plane. Let's go ahead and rate this thing, gentlemen. Out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about In Fabric?
All right, man. I feel angry in some ways. I do, because it's one thing to make a bad
Right,
film. It's one thing to make a bad film. It's another thing to waste like oodles of potential. And here's the thing. I think the metaphor has potential. I think Sheila, that story had the most potential, with like the vehicle being okay, it's about witches and stuff. I was fine with that. But then I didn't hate on the Reg segment. I thought that had its own potential and stuff too. Where this movie just fucks off to me is trying to cram all those things in and making it a gimmick. It's making me like kind of mad. I'm twisted a bit, but it's making me irritated because
that soju,
dude,
Off that soju.
because it's almost 3 pieces of interesting art. One that I feel like has like great potential in the Sheila story, and the acting and the writing and how it was heading, and like just 30 minutes you need to wrap up the story, even keeping the theatrics of this store, and you have a fantastic film to me. And they fucking blew it over this gimmick. That's irritating to me. That's so irritating.
You gotta keep them irritated. Like the
But
Austin
I'm
said.
gonna keep but I gotta respect the craft. Like that, like in the same time, it's like I'm criticizing though what I was fascinated by, because the acting and the writing and the craft, especially in the Sheila segment. But again, I think it was fine, and maybe the comedy was cranked up too much in the Reg segment. The problem is I love the ingredients, but I hate the fucking soup. You know, like each one of the things that go into this are
Where does the mannequin blood figure into the soup?
It does not fit in. But
Dude, do you think the band Mannequin Pussy got their name from this movie?
No.
no, they've
gonna
been around a lot
They've been
longer
around.
than
Just let
2018.
Just let me have this.
I'm okay.
No,
let me
I
have
will
Yes, Bob.
Damn it.
Congrats, Bob.
But what I'm saying is I like the individual segments as they stand alone, and I wish those could have been fleshed out and reach their full potential in their own. Instead, they're all mashed together, and the sum is like less than the parts. So I like the parts. I don't like the overall package that it comes in. and like it's frustrating to me, but I gotta give credit where credit's due. The acting it's got style, man, and like a lot of it's I didn't like that wonky ass music that they were playing during the commercial, but I see like where they were going for it. The talking was very interesting, the way she was like portrayed as a saleswoman. I found the Coven interesting. I didn't fully understand the mannequin situation. I liked the ending where they're all making the dresses. I liked the Sheila segment. I liked the Red segment. The acting was great. The writing was great. It's just, I hate how it was all mashed together. So overall, I'll give this a 2.5.
2.5 from Soju. Twisted motherfucking Soju. I'm going to slide into these DMs real quick.
Bob,
DMs
out of
our
5.
podcast.
Yeah. In fabric.
What do you think?
What you got?
Man, I love the aesthetic of this movie. It's definitely referencing like Italian films, specifically Giallo. A lot of the lighting and the way it's sort of edited is very like mysterious. The way the characters like act, speak, carry themselves is very like it's got this like air of mystery to it. And like you're not supposed to know exactly what's happening. You're not going to have all the answers to all the questions. But that doesn't really like bother me because I guess I was willing to like give myself over to this story and like strap in for the ride. And like I got the point, I got the emotions, I got the feeling, and that's really enough. I also like I love how the movie looks. I love how the movie sounds. Like the soundtrack is fucking incredible. There's a lot of like transitional sequences in this movie that almost look like a collage of a bunch of images that were ripped out of like department store catalogs, and then there's like weird mannequin hands like coming into frame and stuff. They even like go as far as to make the alarm like whenever the department store catches fire towards the end of the movie, the alarm even sounds like very specifically crafted. It's not a normal sounding alarm. It's like this weird like
And it alters.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
and like the recorded voice like that's coming over the intercom is it's just all like very strange and
Uncanny.
yeah, but like in a way that intrigues the fuck out of me. And I love the way the world feels. The comedy, the healthy dose of comedy, like really helps ease the transition between the two main characters for me. Like it just sort of helps me roll with the punches a little bit. The art design's fantastic. The performances are solid as hell. Every time that dude just starts talking about fixing a washing machine, it's like hilarious to me. It feels like straight out of Office Space. Like he's got a meeting with the fucking Bobs, and the Bobs are about to jizz their shorts because he's telling them how to fix their washing machine.
That feels out of Office Space.
Yeah, well,
Jizzing the
in
shorts
like
part might be a little,
it's like Office Space,
it
but
might
like
be a little beyond scope of Mike Judge.
yeah, well, it's like Office Space directed by David fucking Lynch.
Okay, I like that. I like
It's-
that.
And
I would love to see a lot of fucking movies directed by Lynch in a second.
I dig that weird like hodgepodge of shit. For some reason, it just like hits me really well. It is definitely too long. I feel that. The fact that they cut this movie in half is it's a strange choice. And I totally agree that Sheila's story is like way more weighty. It really is. They could have made the whole movie about her and it would have been fine. But also I never would have like watched those bank tellers jizz their shorts. So I'm not mad that they made the choice. It's just a strange decision. I love the weird lore with like the witch / vampire people working at this department store and like the mindless consumerism, the commentary. I dig this movie quite a bit. I think ultimately I'm gonna land with a 3.5 on it out of 5. Randy, how you feel?
So yeah, it's interesting that Justin has the feeling that he does about it of being angry and irritated, because I can both understand it, and we seem to have a lot of the same feelings about this movie in terms of like the individual components, but his amount to a way more negative point of view than mine does on it. And that, I mean, I just think that's interesting. So I think that I tend to agree with you on this one, Bob, that this movie is not a movie that, you know, it's a movie about feeling and metaphor over, you know, lore. You know, I don't feel the need to hyper, you know, interrogate the functions of each component of this and see how they fit into each other and see who would react to what. I feel like this movie operates best and is intended to operate on a level of this is how the world is, and it's absurd. Like, this is kind of like, to me, it's an anti-consumerist message in my mind. And maybe I'm just more receptive to that. I mean, I did just watch The Big Short recently, so maybe I'm just more receptive to an anti-consumerist message in general.
You mean the
Big
Big
Shorty?
Shorty?
Big
The
Shorty.
Big Shorty, yes, excuse me.
The thick shorty.
The thick and big shorty.
Oh God.
Yes, no, I just feel like this movie.
It doesn't have length, but it's got girth.
so much. 8 inches of girth, 2 inches. It's a dinner
It's
plate.
all girth, baby.
It's a dinner plate.
Anyway, yes. So I think I just feel like this movie, like craft wise, just speaking purely of visuals, style, and acting, impeccable. I really do think this is an impeccable film in those regards. I think that this movie has the richest colors I've seen in a while. The title sequence of this movie, for me, was jizz-worthy on its own.
Yeah.
It was great. I just love the look of it. It's so unique in the field of horror movies, or movies in general right now. And I just loved it. I loved it. Immediately I was engaged. And I think that, I could focus on what is lacking from the lore, but for me, it's more about the metaphor. And the metaphor doesn't stay 100% consistent, as I pointed out earlier. But by and large, it does stick to the idea that people are pulling the wool over your eyes, telling you need something, telling you that your life is going to be filled with love because you purchased a product. And that is the central message of this film. I think this movie could have easily, and to agree with Justin, easily been focused on Sheila and totally achieved that goal. And to Rob's point, I think it could have done that while also engaging with Reg's orgasmic technical speak, because they could have just done an aside with Sheila's bosses who know Reg and could have just said, she didn't even mention Reg in a conversation. They could have said, yes, Reg, who repaired our machine. And they could have jumped to a scene of him explaining it and then jizzing. And that would have been the same correlation I drew earlier of technical speak as a consumerist message versus advertising speak as a consumerist message. Like, that could have drawn the same correlation. And therefore, the Reg story, though I do like parts of it, could have been excised completely. I agree with that. And I think that it's fair to be upset that we got less Sheila in lieu of Reg. And I think that's why this movie feels as long as it does. All of that I agree with. That said, I think that I'm maybe receptive enough, or I think enough care was put into the metaphor and to the idea of this movie and the style and everything else, that it carried me through that frustration to the end point. And I think that while not a perfect movie, this is a very fucking interesting movie that I could continue talking about for another hour easily. So on that regard, I would also give it a 3.5.
3.5 from Randy is going to put our aggregate at a 3.2. Let's go ahead and jump to our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about In Fabric.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and ghouls, we're going into the Rotten Tomatoes segment. In this segment, I'm going to have these two gentlemen guess, within the best of their abilities, what the aggregate scores are for both critics and users on RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to start with the critics score, as we usually do. And let me see. Today, I'll go with juice on this one. We have 160 reviews counted. I guess that's exactly 160. What do you think between 0 and 100%? What percentage of those reviews are positive?
Dude, art house bullshit mixed with a metaphor about anti-consumerism. I bet the critics are jizzing their shorts over this shit.
Ooh, Reg style.
Give me the Project 86,
Ooh,
please.
the 80s. All right. Bob, how about you?
Boys never let me down.
Never, except they do regularly. I'm gonna go.
Never
I'm gonna
happened.
$1. I'm gonna $1 old juicy shorts over here with 87.
Ooh, 87. Well, I mean, $1, Bob did the trick. It's a 91%, and that
God
means Bob
damn.
gets the win on that.
Ooh, can I get a Hilski?
You can get a Hilski.
Thanks.
Oh, little Michael Jackson in that one. Okay, thanks. Little MJ. All right. Let's see. Let's go to the user score. There are 250 plus, so not a terribly large amount of critics or user audience scores. Let's start with Bob this time. What do you think the audience gave this film?
I feel like this has to be lower than the critics because it's not super accessible for reasons that we've already discussed. I'm gonna go with a 69%, please.
69 percentile. All right, that's the comedy number. Juice, where do you land on this one? Users.
Can you please tell me again how many users review this?
250 plus.
And Bob said
69, the comedy number.
I feel like this is gonna follow last week's trend. Old A24 at it again. I feel like there's gonna be a big divide between users and critics. And even us today, we were all pretty divided on how we felt about this. I'm gonna drop it down 60 dudes.
60 dudes. Those 9 are feeling left out. So Soju, how you feel about winning this one?
Oh, can I get
It would be a 50%.
Oh,
Damn.
50%.
dude,
even.
A24.
So you actually are
sticking
quite
with
on the
it,
pulse
dude.
of the audience, Soju, because you gave that pretty
Yeah,
much
2.5.
exact score. So,
Mang of the people, Soju.
This
they
week
call me.
anyway.
Mang.
All right, let's see the critic consensus. It reads as follows. In Fabric's gauzy giallo allure weaves, a surreal spell, blending stylish horror and dark comedy to offer audiences a captivating treat. And audiences seem to disagree with that. At least 50% of them do. So I think that's relatively fair. It's just, the comment on audiences is clearly contradicted by its own score. So let's go and read a couple of negative reviews. They are occasionally funny, and so I read them at random.
That's more appropriate.
Here's one. This is not the film to see if you're after a sleazy good time. It is more a game of hunt the symbol with possible interpretations scattered so thickly it is hard to pick just one. I don't know if I entirely disagree with that.
I want a sleazy good time.
I don't think that it's
I don't
that
know why
obtuse,
he
though.
prefaced his like pretty on point comment with "if you're looking for a sleazy time."
Yeah,
Like,
is this
this is
the movie you want?
Not what the movie's advertising at all.
Yeah.
It's the movie calling for, hey, sleaze bags, come check
Yeah,
out our
what the
horny
fuck?
horror film
That's what I
about
always
fabric.
think when I go see an A24 film. I'm
Yeah.
looking for something sleazy.
Maybe he's a porn reviewer typically. I don't know.
Maybe.
Here's one more negative review. I literally lost the thread, not to put too annoying a pun on it. I like that. I think
I'm
that's quite
annoyed.
funny.
I'm a little annoyed.
I'm not
By
annoyed.
the fun.
I'm quite engaged.
I'm annoyed by the
So,
fact
well
that
done.
he felt the need to point it out.
Okay. You think he's just trying to go too
Did
big
you
for his
get?
britches?
Did you get it? Did you get the
Did
pun?
you? Did you get my
It's very subtle. You might
look?
have missed it.
Hey,
People point
hey,
out puns all
Bob.
the time because they're so
Hey.
goddamn
Hey.
subtle.
Hey, Bob. Did you get it?
You know what we're about to get?
Hey, did I get a hell yeet?
I don't know. We'll go to the record later.
Hello, Yeet.
Hello, Yeet. Howdy, Yeet.
There's not a whole lot of trivia on this, so
There's
we're gonna
not.
glide right over that, and we're gonna go hunting for the cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'.
Oh, great. And my tolerance is for shit.
Nah.
Hey, Soju, what is a cooter? Why are we hunting them?
Well, Bob, let me break it down for you. A cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Will come for your ass if you use this without permission.
He will come for your ass.
Exactly. Chose my words.
In triplicate.
Anyways. Cooter is a character type. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter. We want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, Who is the cooter of this wacky ass movie?
Ooh, I have a suggestion.
Oh, please,
for it.
Randy, submit to the court.
I think that we have somebody who hits at least 4 of these, and I think that is Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, I was thinking, okay, I'll save it.
Adonis
Okay.
was my first thought, but I think Brienne hits more.
I have somebody else, but okay. All
Okay,
right, let's
I'll go
break
with
down
yours in a second.
Brienne of Tarth.
So let's
Randy,
talk
give us
about
our first
Brienne.
point.
Yeah, her first point, first of all, is looking attire. She's very much dominatrix out in this film. I think that's fair to say that it is not a typical look she's sporting.
She's got a goth thing going on. Was there enough for a dominatrix look, though?
I don't recall that.
Well,
She was
we
just
don't
all
see her-
blacked out.
We don't ever see her in a lot of clothes except when she's playing Sorry. And I don't know anybody who dresses that way to play Sorry personally. That's my
Dude,
feeling.
let's
You don't know
so
the right
talking
people.
I
about
guess
playing
not. Maybe I just don't know the right.
talking about playing sorry. Let's jump to another point. Smug arrogance. Jesus
Yes,
Christ.
that is
True,
really probably
yeah.
the strongest point. For
Yeah.
smug arrogance in this, she not only is absolutely willing to gallivant the fact that she's fucking this poor lonely divorcee's son over her head and just parade it around, but she's also going to take the pettiest route possible while playing a children's board game.
But also, yeah, that she's got complete control over him. Not that
Yeah.
she's just fucking him, but that she can make him do whatever
That's
he
true, too.
wants. And like, even we don't get it directly from Brianna Tarth, but the mom's like, yeah, she just like pillages my wine collection. And she's like,
Yeah.
and you know, the way she's just using this woman's house and her son and her
Mhm.
like, that's fucking smug as shit.
That is super smug, and I would argue that there's some manipulation happening for sure because of what you just said. Like,
Yeah.
there
on the
is certainly
son's
a level
part,
of
yeah.
control happening. Literally, the man is drawing fucking glorifying asshole images of this woman. So I can't imagine that there's no.
And on the
And
smug
it could
arrogance,
be. It could be just. Sorry, go ahead.
when she's modeling and she doesn't even speak to the mom.
I know.
Oh
I know.
my
It takes
God.
nothing to speak. It ruins nothing. In that moment, I thought, okay, maybe this woman is just being like overly committed, and she's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry for being rude earlier." My
Yeah.
name's-" I don't know. Maybe that's my rarely seen optimist brain, but I was thinking that was gonna happen. I thought there was gonna be more about her versus her and her son being at odds, but it's very much about her and Brienne being at odds, and that
Yeah.
is the start of that for sure.
Brienne's got the golden butthole. So
The golden
she can do
is
whatever
Dude,
she wants.
people
That is
worship that
praiseworthy butthole. You got to praise her butthole.
Worship.
Hey,
At-
I mean,
at the altar of the
Randy understands.
That is my motto. Randy understands. Let's see. So sexual deviancy. I think the idea of telling a woman that you have made her son come is pretty deviant in my mind. It's at least a power play related to sex, and to me, it's a cruel version of that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
I think that the cruelty is getting her off. I think that's a sexually deviant move, personally.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. I'm down.
So that is 4. Patheticness is the one I don't have a great example for off the top of my head. Like, she's very much in control
yeah,
of most
I don't
situations,
think
and she
she's
never gets put in her
pathetic.
place except by the fucking
It's
dress.
pathetic to fuck around with an older lady like she's doing for no reason other than to make
Yeah, I
yourself
guess,
feel
yeah.
like big and bad.
Like on a morality.
Yeah,
level,
if we
it's
saw
pathetic.
more of her life, like if she actually, was insecure or being picked on or something, then that would make sense. But we don't see a whole lot of her.
Yeah, I just feel like there's not a lot of her being like Reg is clearly made out to be pathetic.
Yeah,
And
Reg
if
is
they want to make
pathetic.
someone out to be pathetic in this film, they can do it, and they don't do it with her.
Well,
So
hang
don't
on.
see
I
that part.
wanted to nominate the son, actually.
Okay, go on.
So the son, I feel like he's pretty pathetic in a way because
That
of
book
the
she
way.
finds?
Well, okay. Oh man, there's so many. I think he hits pretty hard on the career level. Sexual deviance. He jerks off to his own paintings,
They
which
are really
also-
That's
good.
also pathetic.
which also ties into, I think, patheticness.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Um,
I've never jerked off to my own drawings. I want that on the record.
But your paintings you have.
But my lithographs certainly.
but also in the realm, I guess, of patheticness is kind of tied into Brienne Tarth, is that like he's doing this to his mom. Like, he's a grown ass man.
Yeah.
And he's treating his mom like, oh, make me dinner, mom, and like, oh, put it in the fridge, mom, and like that's so like the way he treats her
Dude,
is so pathetic.
It's so shit. It's just like, honestly, the only word I can think about is shitty, because especially like the point where I decided he was irredeemable was when he, after going to his dad's place to have his dad's new girlfriend's curry and is praising her curry, comes back home and then shits on his mom's haircut rather than like, and then says, "Oh, are you going on a date? Isn't it a little soon? I thought you were trying to fix it with that." It's like, what the fuck? You just went and ate your dad's girlfriend's curry. Who the fuck do you think
he
you
shits
are?
on her hair and on her clothes. He's like, oh, Brianna Tarth would never be caught in that or whatever, when his mom is just asked like, what? So like, I think he's the bigger scare. So he's jerking off to his own paintings. He's treating his mom like shit.
I think he hits extra hard and pathetic.
Can we nominate a cooter couple? It's a cooter power couple.
Wow, a
Cooter power couple.
I kind of like that.
Dude, all right.
Buttholes.
Yeah, that's
jerking
fine.
off to their own paintings.
Wait, what was that, Bob? What do we have?
Man, somebody's planning for the
It's
future.
a cooter power.
Ass to mouth.
Yeah,
I got the power tonight, baby.
I mean, I do believe there's some ass to mouth happening in this couple. I do think so.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
it's a
we
golden
I think
ass.
we might see a
Nothing
little
wrong
taste
with
of
that,
it.
except unless you're a couple of cooters or you're a cooter power couple.
golden ass to the golden mouth.
We didn't
Cool.
see where that guy's mouth was going.
It was
when
going
she
all
was,
over.
when she was looking through the peephole.
I think that there was no holds barred, personally. Yeah, but we have patheticness for sure. We have sexual deviancy in the sense that he's jerking off to his own paintings and drawings.
She's got the golden eye, shall we say?
The golden eye of Horace's asshole. Yeah, and then look at attire.
the old gold
not a whole lot of look
starfish.
at attire. I think he's pretty stylishly dressed. Manipulation. I don't think he particularly manipulates anybody. At least not intentionally. Do you disagree with that?
Manipulates. He might manipulate her.
Brienne?
No, his mother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a little bit.
Through his snarky and like comments and attitude. Like,
yeah, he definitely thinks he can get away with more than he should reasonably be.
but also too,
willing to
yeah,
get away with
like
even.
I feel like the snarky comments, it's pathetic, but also against her hair and her dress, it's almost to knock her down a peg so that she feels like she has to get back with the dad or something, you know, like
My feeling is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like putting her in like a rough position, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think that maybe what we have is a cooter power couple because we have Brienne with 4 out of 5 marks.
Yeah.
And then we have whatever his name is, the
Yeah, what
boyfriend
is his
hitting
name?
that 5th mark as hard as fucking possible. He's the most pathetic character in this movie, including Reg, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's rough.
So I think
and
I'm going with the power couple. I'm down with that answer.
that's
Yes.
fine with me.
Brienne of Barf and Dipshit McGee, power couple.
Book them and put them in separate cages.
Book 'em down.
What was that kid's name? Does anybody remember?
Titus or something.
I don't
like,
remember.
or-
Titus?
I don't think it was that.
I feel like it was something with
I think
a
it
T,
was
though.
tight ass. Tight ass.
I mean, that's certainly his name for her, if I had to guess.
Even when his mom like compliments his drawings and shit, he's just such a cooter. He is
He
such a
sucks.
I really fucking hate that kid.
He's
Yeah.
tossing the golden
I
salad.
thought maybe he'd come around because he does kind of defend her honor in French when she can't understand him. So I think
Yeah,
there's an
so
element
she
of him wanting to-
doesn't know. As long
Yeah.
as she doesn't know that he's
that
like
he's
looking
defending
out
her
for
at
it. Yeah.
all. Like, yeah, exactly.
Because even that's like smug arrogance because he's like flouting that like over her, like, oh, you don't
Yeah.
speak French, like you're less or what. Oh, fucking piece of shit.
I don't. He's just trying. Yeah, he just sucks. He sucks.
Yeah,
he
he
sucks,
sucks.
and she sucks, and they suck as the 5-star power couple, the power cooter couple that they are.
All right, sounds good.
We got it. We did it. We're gonna hold what we've been watching for next episode because we got a lot of shit to get through. But we're gonna go ahead and get into our hotline screams. Here we go.
Hotline scream.
Yeah.
Let it roll. If you guys are listening, would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got a couple voicemails this week. First up, we're going to hear from Wes. Let's see what he has to say.
I think so. Let's find
Maybe.
out.
Yee-hee. 1 a.m. West has come out of hibernation and is calling once again. To tell you a story about drunkenness without actually drinking. Actually has nothing to do with being drunk. But one time I was at a football game when I was little. And I got beer spilled on me when I was like 8, and I thought I was gonna get drunk, so I cried the whole football game. All right, and one last thing I should say is
Well, I love that. Old drunk baby West.
Dude,
Drunk
got his
Baby
whole
West.
soundtrack going and everything.
Dude, that fucking Manos the Hands of Fate level soundtrack was my favorite. I love that. It's all sad. It sounds like a fucking old Fellini movie.
Wes is trying to say if you got kids that are 8 or below, feed them beer. They'll love it.
Yes. Direct all your queries to 1 a.m. West.
1 a.m. West.
The speech to text read the last thing. All right, and one last thing I should say is dead. So apparently,
Damn.
is dead. Text to speech thinks you're dead right
Damn. Foghorn, leghorn, head ass. Thanks for calling, Wes. Maybe a couple more piano lessons. You'll tighten that shit up. Next up, we're gonna hear from Brandon. Let's hear what Brandon has to say.
Hey boys, this is your boy Brandon. Currently watching this movie called Candisha on Shudder. It's pretty wild. Girl uses her period blood to draw a pentagram. So that's fucked up. Just wanted to say you guys are rocking it these days. Episode's been on point, lots of laughs, always a good time. Appreciate ya. Anyways, calling in because I thought of a funny joke. Not really a joke. I mean, it's a joke, but it's more of like a pickup line, you know? Hey girl, I've got the STD. All I need is you. Anyways, boys, thinking you guys got to come up with your best pickup lines and let us know them. The rest of your night, day, whatever time it is that you listen to this.
So I think his setup was dropped out there a little bit, at least on our end anyways. He says, hey girl, you looking for a stud?
Yes.
I've got the STD, all I need is you.
Oh,
Yes.
my Lord.
Yeah, I loved every part of that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh yeah. Brandon is not stoned at
I
all.
think
That
he was
joke
sober
is
as a
great.
judge.
Yes.
That man's never touched a leaf in his
never
life.
touched a weed ever.
Never touched a leaf. He's lived in the bubble.
Dude, he sticks with the water Pokemongs.
Oh, Bubble Boy Brandon.
Very much a ghost cat.
What's your pickup line, Randy?
I have no pick. Honestly, nothing's. First of all, that joke is hilarious, and I'm not going to be able to beat it. Certainly not as drunk as I am. But yeah, everything about that was great. The immense pause between saying I'm going to tell a joke and then telling the joke almost is funnier than the joke. I love it.
Thanks
I
for the
love
dramatic
it.
pause. Juice, you got any good pickup lines?
Dude, my go-to pickup line was always, "I like your moves."
Yes, I think you said that to me many times.
I think that worked out for Bob quite a few times, if I recall.
Oh, quite a few.
Especially,
times.
especially when you're in a very loud club and the girl actually thinks you say, "I like your boobs."
Yeah, it works every time.
Works every time.
I've never seen it not work. If by
That's
working we
true.
mean a girl walks away very quickly.
I like your
I don't-
moves.
I don't have any like real solid original pickup lines. I've never like actually tried to use like a legit line like
Oh.
that.
Bob, you've
So-
used "I like your moves."
I don't think I have.
I know you have.
I don't know. Nothing's gonna be STD. Like, who the fuck would ever? That's the best pickup line because it's the least usable.
It would fail.
I've got the STD.
would
Okay,
fail.
bye.
Yeah.
Tight.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you got chlamydia? Sounds like I need to be a part of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds like Brandon might need to go see his doctor.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Get that drip dick looked at.
You got
buddy.
old
Oh
cauliflower
my
dick.
lord.
You gotta,
Ooh. Okay.
I got a bad case of the drip dick.
old leaky faucet Brandon.
I've had too much Ghostface drink.
Thanks for calling. Hope you got your dick sorted out there, Brando. If you're listening and want to call me voicemail for next week, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show as always. We're gonna be tackling a classic that is long overdue.
Ooh, what is it?
We're gonna be talking about the original.
Ooh, what is it?
Friday the 13th.
Oh,
And guess
shit.
what? The boys will be back.
We're back in town.
Back in town.
We're back together, even
Back
though Randy's somehow in town and I'm not right now, which we didn't think was going to happen, which is why
Yeah.
I'm not in town, or else I'd be in town.
We're gonna cross the
We'll-
streams, baby.
We'll soon be in town. We're
Yeah,
gonna be.
I hope you brought some
fucked
Malort,
up.
my guy.
I got some left over from like 3 years ago.
Bob,
I don't think that
Sure.
Malort's ever gonna be
Sweet
gone.
candied mouth.
If
Randy,
that
I hope
Malort
you
ever-
brought some
ever-
Malort.
If we ever empty that bottle, all three of us will drop dead. I'm
It's
pretty
true.
sure. It's
It
cursed.
contains
That's
our
worse.
souls.
Yes,
Part of
yes.
our mythology.
Yes,
Damn.
that is the lore for the Straight Chilling Group.
Our souls taste
I
like
think we just
Clorox.
wrote our episode 400. Anyway,
Dude, we gotta start
Um,
planning that.
Yeah, goddamn, we
Dude,
kind
I
of
know.
do. Slam your eyeballs in Friday the 13th. Get ready for next week's episode. Also, this Friday is Friday the 13th, so like, don't go camping and don't bang and don't get drunk. Don't smoke drugs like
Or do
Brandon.
every
Be
one
like
of those
Brandon.
things. Please,
Brandon's never smoked a drug.
Brandon's sober and sexless as a judge.
Never
as we all
smoked
know,
a
judges can't
drug.
have sex.
He got STDs from banging his mattress. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't count.
Oh my
It's,
god!
Yeah.
it's called the tetanus.
I see
One
it
of those
every
box
day.
spring diseases.
He's got that
God damn.
tetanus dick.
That rusty ass box spring got him
Ooh.
right in the pee hole.
He's got a spring.
God, Bob, what the fuck is
I've
wrong
never
with
He's got a
you?
spring through the dick. All right.
Yeah, that's enough of this. So yeah, check us out on our social medias. You know where to find us. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.